Oh, welcome to SI Lab, SI, Laura and Brian, episode number 11, where we're going to be discussing social types and their relationship to SI Savior. So we've got two guests here. We have Stan and we have Gemma. So I thought that you could both introduce yourselves, just give us a little information, like how you got into objective personality, your full objective personality type, including your social type, and just anything else you want to add.
Well, I'm Gemma. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
So it's my play. Like it's my turn. Sorry with that.
Plays too fast.
I'm Gemma. I'm double feminine, SITE, blast, play, consume, sleep, and I'm a number 4. Probably should have gone in order from the numbers. I'm gonna have to get used to being last. So I got into OPS like probably earlier this year. I'd been interested in personality typing for a long time, just like Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. I'm self-typed as an Enneagram 1, though that was before there was official typing for that too. But yeah, so just kind of like interested in expanding my knowledge of personality stuff. So stumbled across some videos, actually probably some of your videos, Laura and Brian. So it's really wild to be here. And I just, since you pressed record, I'm going to be a little nervous, but here I am and just excited to have the conversation.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you here.
Yeah, and I'm just realizing right now by looking, we're only one coin off.
Yeah, I realized that. Yeah. So
awesome.
That's true. Okay, so it's now my turn.
It is your turn.
So, okay, my name is Stan, and I'm working as a PhD student, and also running my company and doing some crypto investments. And I get into OPS mainly because I wanted to understand other people better, like understand myself, but mainly other people, because as an IP, I couldn't see them clearly. They were like buried, and I wanted to understand why they seem to be irrational, why they seem act as they act. And OPS is like putting glasses on my face and seeing other people clearly, or at least understanding them better. I can see the math. I can calculate why they are that way, and I find it the way OPS works compared to MBTI. I really appreciate that OPS is kind of open source, that everyone can use it. They are not trying to copyright it. They are sharing it, and there is a huge community of people, and it's consistent. Like this is the scientific method also was something I really admire as being a PhD student. The scientific method is really something that I have to use in my work. So OPS is great for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks so much for being here with us. Okay. And then just
so one thing, Laura, up front that I'm not sure if you said it or not. I was daydreaming there. It's like we are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So so really cool. So actually, Gemma, a little catch myself there. We're 1 coin off on 512, but we're 2 coins off now with the extra 2 coins here. So
yeah.
Just clarification there, because we would only get the sensory wrong.
Right, exactly. We still have the
friend. And speaking of sensory, you take a look at our names under our photos. We coordinated them so that they would have the exact same style.
Yeah, so our SI saviors are happy.
Yeah.
Very satisfying to see.
Yeah,
and we just have to remember that after this chat to erase the stuff after our name if we're doing anything non-OPS related.
Nah, this is a good play bait. Just leave it there.
Yeah, just leave it.
Let the questions flow.
Yeah, that's a good introduction. Like, what is that? Oh, now I can tell you all about it. We open the door.
My new name.
A new term for the glossary there, Laura. Play bait.
Play bait. Okay, I will remember that. Put it up there along with consume cheating.
And consume assist. So anyway, keep going.
Okay, all right. So I just kind of want to give a brief recap on the basics of social type. Now, social type is a relatively new construct in OPS land. It's only been around, well, probably less than a year, where it's really been talked about. And so it's kind of evolving. And, you know, even with Dave and Shan, you know, they're coming up with new discoveries on it. So what we're going to be presenting here is just kind of our best understanding of social type. So social type kind of has two coins. So one coin is the flex friends coin. So savior flex means that kind of like a desire to want to be significant. I want to be the best at something. It's kind of more self-directed, whereas the friend side of the coin is, you know, it emphasizes more, I don't have to be the best. I'm kind of more not trying to get ahead of people. It's more about friends. And so that's one coin. And then the other coin is the specialized responsibility coin. I'm not the biggest fan of the word responsibility, but it's what Dave and Shannon are using. You know, I think maybe generalized might be a better word for it. But on that coin, the specialized people, like, they kind of just want to focus in on a more narrow area, master that, get good at that. Whereas now they call it responsibility, but responsibility is kind of more like kind of taking a broader view of something, kind of like what a manager does. Like they look at all these different aspects of the company. It's not just one narrowed area. Now, when we're talking about social types, so there's 4 different social types. So social type 1 leads with flex. So flex is their dominant need, and their secondary need is responsibility. So their order is flex first, responsibility second, and then specialize third, and friends last. And that is social type 1. Now notice that they kind of go in a defined order, kind of like the sexual modalities do. So like if your sexual modality is audio, for example, your audio first, and then your kinesthetic second, tester third, visual fourth. Dave and Shannon think that the social types work in the same way like that. Social type 2 leads with friends, and their second is, wait a minute, sorry, let me start over again. Social type 2 leads with responsibility, and then their second need is friends, third is flex, and fourth is specialize. And then social type 3 is the exact opposite. So they're leading with specialize, flex second, friends third, and responsibility fourth. And social type 4 is the opposite of social type 1. So they're leading with friends, specialize second, responsibility third, and flex fourth. Okay. Now, one common myth that we have about social types is that, like, it's like a hierarchy. 1 is the best, 4th is the worst. And that's not really the way it is, but sometimes people, I don't know, they mistakenly want to think that 1s are the best. They're not the best. They may try to be the best. They may focus their energy on trying to be the best, but they're not the best. There are no better or worse social types. So we need all the social types for a well-functioning society. So is there anything you kind of want to add? I feel like maybe I fumbled the definition a little bit, maybe when I explained flex friends.
No, the one thing that I would say, and I have the benefactor, I just got my social 2, you know, the last 48 hours, and I had some back and forth with Dave, and he's also a 2. So I have the audio, a really great audio from him, and he's kind of talking in there. So I don't want to talk on his behalf, but you know, the responsibility terminology, I think, is something they're really giving some consideration to, because like, you know, somebody who's a specialist first, you know, that doesn't mean you're not responsible, you know, anything but you might be responsible, very, very responsible, but in a niche, in a more narrow area versus a broad, I'm going to serve the masses style. So I think they're debating some terminology changes behind the scenes on how to address that to get away from that misperception that, you know, if you're a one, well, you know, or if you're whatever, you're not responsible, because that's not necessarily valid.
Yeah, I think
that's a very good point. Because that's one thing I kind of wrestled with when I found out I was a type 3. It's like, I don't think I relate to responsibility last, because I feel like I'm very responsible. And yes, I am in, you know, like in my specialty, like if you tell me what to do, you know, I will do it, and I will do it to the best of my ability. But do I want to be, you know, responsible for running a big business and all these other things outside my niche? No.
Right,
yeah,
right.
we agree.
Yeah, I don't relate to having no friends neither. So it's
Yeah,
really
and
a
right.
lot of stereotypes.
But you remember, Stan, there's always the catch-all. Everybody does everything, right? So
Yeah.
you're safe.
Everybody, and that's true.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I think it's
Yeah.
kind of almost more like a prioritization too, kind of like sometimes those with Savior Flex 1s and 3s, like sometimes they'll put their work above their relationships. Well, if I get my work done, then maybe I can relax and focus more on relationships and people. So
Yeah, and I completely
exactly.
kind of be more of a priority thing too. So, and we'll kind of get into that as we go on.
I definitely relate to putting my friends and the people in my life ahead of the work, and then I can get a little bit frustrated almost that, hey, I didn't get done what I wanted to get done, and I have like this SI and TE that I want to get things done, but in my gut I'm like, no, I need to see people and prioritize people. So I really relate to that.
Yeah, I'm the opposite, and for me it's like my stuff and my work is always more important than my friends. And sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe next week we will meet and we will hang out or something. Today I'm just working for my idea and what I want to do. So it's just like, if you are thinking what to do, then what do you think first will come to your mind? So for me, it's just do what I want, to work on my stuff. And probably for you, Gemma, it's like, let's meet with friends.
Yeah, exactly. And like, can I wedge in some time for my personal stuff? Yeah. Yeah.
I have to remind myself to hang out with friends. It's just that difference.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, wonderful. So, Laura, one thing I'd like to go last when you pivot to your next emphasis point here, because I'm not really well processed yet. So you're going to be asking some questions that I don't even know that I've given any thought to yet. So I've been pretty busy the last day or two. So, but a congruence is one of the topics I'd like to hear a perspective on. Because you did a video on congruence, didn't you?
Yes. Yes. I did do a video on congruence, and in my description, I will link to you that video. So basically with congruence, to get my blaster report here. So social type 1 is thought to be congruent with DI, you know, because it's flexing. It's kind of about yourself and kind of being the best that you can be, and kind of being the best in all things, you know, whereas number 3's flex is kind of a little more narrowed down to specific specialties. And then number 2 kind of correlates with OE because it's about the broader scope. It's more of a generalist, jack of all trades rather than specializing. Whereas number 3 with lead specialized correlates to OI because it's more narrowed down. And then number 4, friends would correlate to DE because it's focused externally on other people. So I kind of want to pivot and kind of talk about like how you see your social type in relation to your human needs, to your Savior SI. Was there anything you were surprised about when you discovered your social type? Is there anything you're still trying to process? Yeah, how does that look for you?
I'm always happy
And
to jump in first
and
and
this is
embarrass
just going to be
myself.
jumping. We're not going to necessarily take turns, but I do want to
Okay.
make sure everybody gets a chance to speak.
I know Brian wanted to go last, so
Well, let's go
that
4,
order.
3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Well,
great.
no, let's go
Yeah.
4, 3, 1, 2.
4, 3, 1, 2.
So I can go last.
Okay, yeah, because
Okay.
there wouldn't be any other way to go the other way around the circle now. Okay. Yeah. So I was trying to do a little bit of processing earlier. I actually was just I actually recorded myself talking about it to see if I could figure out my thoughts on this. But I feel like my social type really goes along with like the DE part of it and like the play part of it. But I was trying to think about with SI, it definitely has like supported the social type in the sense that I do prioritize friendships. And so my SI has helped me to like remember to see people, show up for people, keep my calendar organized, keep in touch, all those things. Remember people's birthdays, all of that. It's like helped support my social type. But I definitely could see how SI could like apply to every social type in a different way. I just think like it almost comes back to like my FI, like my masculine FI third. Like I just have such like a passion for people and being around people, and that's like my desire. And so I'm like gonna automatically be like that. And then that the DE too, savior, but then yeah, just SI supporting that. And then the human needs, I think, yeah, well, definitely the connection human need for sure. Like my second, I don't know if that's like a thing to kind of have like my first is certainty and my second is connection, if that's how you guys think about it. But I definitely see like that need for connection, connecting to the number 4 for
Yeah,
sure.
well, I mean, if you're just talking like in an OPS sense, yeah. I mean, as SITE, it would be like, OI and then DE.
Yeah. Okay.
Human
Okay.
needs
Cool.
standpoint.
Okay, awesome. I
Yeah.
kind of thought of it that way, and I was like, I don't know if it's more just what your number 1 human need is, and that's all that matters. But I definitely see both. With the certainty, maybe that I feel like SI does connect to that specialize a little bit, but I can also see it connecting to responsibility as well. But yeah, I know what I like, I know my way, and so I see that as kind of both SI and specialize. I don't know if I answered all your questions. I can't remember the other ones, but that's all I can think of right now.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like your point, and I'm kind of stealing from you as I go here because
Sure.
we've got so similar in our coins, and we're both
Yeah.
friend savior. So the calendars, what I picked up on there, remembering and organizing to support your friends by having a crisp idea what's in your calendar, SI wise.
Yes, definitely. Like I'm the type of person, I'm gonna have to like keep my blast in check. I feel like it's double feminine, so it's like not, I guess like you now as well, Brian. But I feel like naturally I'm like, hey, let's plan this, let's get it on the calendar. And people are like, like, can't we just see what happens? And I'm like, but it'd be so fun to just figure it out right now. And so kind of keep that in check a little bit.
You're talking to your human need there, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like I have a lot of NE too, and that's last. It's definitely there. But yeah, I just like to have things decided, figured out. But imagine you can all relate to that being SI as well. So that's really nice because when I'm around people who
I'm
aren't like
complete
that, I'm like,
opposite.
oh, you are? Okay, so with SI.
Yeah, I'm using SI for complete opposites, but we will get
I
to
love
it
that.
later,
I
maybe.
love hearing that. That's
Yeah.
such a cool perspective. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's true
It's
because
okay. That's
SI plus self is so different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's not me or Laura?
we said 4, 3, 1, 2, so you'll go third. So Laura's up.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, well, obviously specialized first. I think that correlates to SI, having that as the lead function, so that's pretty congruent, because it's like for me, it's like I I like to feel a sense of mastery in what I do. I kind of like to be one of the best in my field and kind of distinguish myself that way. And then some of the anecdotes that they say about type threes, like they're the kinds of people that go in and they're just kind of focused on their job. They want to go in and get their 401k and be secure, and that's definitely me. I mean, uh, um, so, but I think what's maybe a little less congruent is the flex part. Because there was a period of time where I thought I could be a 4 because I have savior feminine DE. It's suggestive to other people. It's kind of tries to be open to others and flexible with people, and then it's 2 times activated. So, but I think when I look at it a little closer, um, I think it's kind of more like when I do my work. I mean, I'm kind of more focused in on the job and the task itself. Um, not that I don't care about people and relationships, I do, but it's more like I'm going into work to just do my job. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time chit-chatting. I don't, you know, it's not that so important for me to get close to my coworkers. I mean, it's important for me to get along with them, and be on good terms, but as far as building close relationships, that's definitely more secondary to me than just going in and doing a good job. And I think with my flex too, because I have the savior feminine DE, I do try to keep it in check. I think it's a lot more subdued than it might be like in a type 1 IP, for example. And I don't know how your flexes stand. So if it's different, you can correct me here, but it's not like I'm necessarily showing off on the outside. It's more like just quietly going about my business, doing the best job I can and trying to always improve and kind of hoping that somebody will notice it rather than just being loud and say, "Oh, here I am. Here's this wonderful thing that I did." So,
Yeah, I can agree that for me also flex is not about, hey, look at me, I am the best. It's like it's not
mhm.
about showing off or bragging. It's I often realize I mean I notice that people who are the most showing off or bragging are the ones who are not number ones. Maybe that's
It
just
could
my
be
perception, but
peacocking. Hmm.
yeah, they're peacocking, and being the flex saver is like I just know that I'm the best. I will do to be the best, but I don't have to show you or tell you that I am the best. That's how I see it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this might be kind of stereotype, the
Yeah,
harmful stereotype.
yeah.
I'm wondering, Stan, I might call it mirror flexing, because it's important for you to flex to yourself, it sounds like, more so than to others, that you need to be able to look in the mirror and flex and say, hey, I absolutely studied out on this, or whatever your vernacular,
Yeah.
right? And if you could do
Yeah.
that, then you've met your requirement to be, who you
Yeah.
are, the flex savior.
Yeah. That's something I can relate to and agree that I have to satisfy my own standards, my own high standards, and I establish those standards based on comparing to other people. Like I have to compare to you. Where am I on the scale? Like, if you are doing well in finance or in business, then I want to compare and be as close to you as it's possible.
Mhm.
Um, but I won't necessarily directly uh, tell you that hey, I am the best, I'm better than you or something like that. Maybe that's the double feminine way of confronting with other people. I try to avoid confrontation, but I will do it in more indirect way.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good
so,
point. I think those other
so
coins kind of make a difference too, how that's going to come out.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. Everything plays a role in this system. So um, Yeah, so for example, I'm considered the most congruent type with the social hierarchy because I'm number one and I'm IP and I'm extrovert. So I'm just like all in to what I want to achieving my ideas, my goals. I don't look around. I don't have to check if other people allow me to do something. I'm always allowed. It's like I'm going into car and I'm not even asking other people if they are already inside the car. I'm just starting the engine and I'm going. So that causes a lot of problems, as you can imagine. It's like after 1 year of working on my cool idea, on my own business, and after 1 year, I'm like just looking around and where are the people? Where are they? Like I forgot about them. So it happens like 2 or maybe 3 times in my life when I just lost everyone around me, all my friends. So, but it's not that I'm not friendly or I don't like people or I avoid making friends because I love this deep connections, deep relationships. But it's just something that I have to remind myself. It's something that I have to put into calendar that this is the time you should hang out with your friends. Because it's super easy to me to forget about it. And it's like, I'm just allowed to go all into my saviors and everyone is satisfied. Everyone, meaning me, is satisfied and it ends up in burnout. Yeah, this is also something that I experienced already like 2 times. Because if you are working on something for a whole year, then you just can't, and it can't end up healthy.
I'm wondering here
So
on the fly stand, you're kind of touching on it, but like given that you have this new insight about, it's almost like you're in a motorcycle instead of a car. And
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
there's no seats. Oh, well, I didn't realize
yeah,
that. Right? I'm
yeah.
wondering, like in terms of working on rounding yourself out, which is part of what all this insight is about. How might you proceed differently now, knowing that about yourself, that you're in a motorcycle, and oh wait, let me drive a car here every once in a while and get some people in here with me.
Uh, yeah, so that's the problem of OPS, right? So we might know our type, but do we do something with it? It's like a completely different story. If we can type other people, we can see our coins, but the second thing is, do you do something about it? So for me, I realized that I have problem with my friends or just keep in touch with my friends a few years ago when I lost all my friends. So I already knew how to build this habit, this routine of keeping up with my friends. Um, but yeah, now it just makes more sense. Right now, I'm just not delusional about, hey, I just want to do my way. I just want to work on my stuff, and this is the way it should be. People should not hang out that often, so that I feel like I'm not hanging out enough for them. I wanted to change everyone around, and now I feel like this is my problem. This is my obligation to change. Now I don't want to go. I'm not stubborn on my way. I just now admit that I have to spend more time with friends. Yeah.
Like
Using your SI as a tool in your toolkit, how would you put a plan together for yourself to do that?
that's not what I was
Uh,
gonna say. I was like, ugh, thinking the same thing.
uh, how would I use SI to do that? I'm just using calendar for everything. I'm noting, I'm using calendar for like the next year. Everything is in my calendar. I have backlog of what to do. I have charts. I'm keeping track. I mean, I have a system which fetches all the events from my calendar and then I plot how much time do I spend with on my stuff, well, on my sleep, free time, and etc. So this is how I use SI to keep track of all that activities I'm doing. But what I wanted to mention is when Gemma was talking about how she uses her SI, and what I wanted to say is that my SI is rather like, okay, I have to prove you in sensory that I'm the best. I have to use I have to use the sensory as a medium to convince you that I am the best and I am dominating. I will buy the best car, the best motorcycle. I will have the most money. I will have the highest number of citations on my paper. This is something that I want to achieve. It's not necessarily something I have, but like in all that area, I just want to be as close as to the people that I admire. And those results have to be in sensory. They have to be this animalistic kind of things like you have to be rich, just like that. Why? I don't know, because for me it's like being the closest to the truth or to what I want, to my way. It's not necessarily something with high value, because I see it as an extra step I have to do. Like you, as for example, number four, I guess you are much more happier than I am, because you don't have to do this extra step of achieving all those things. You are just happy, and I, for some reason, I have to do this extra step to convince myself that I'm worthy. And it's like a DE versus DI, right? The DE have to do this extra step of asking everyone around, are you okay? Are you okay? Am I allowed? Whereas DI are, I am allowed. I am just doing what I want. So I feel like the number one has this extra step of achieving all those things, of convincing himself and everyone around that he is the best, which is stupid, but it has some advantages.
It's just how we're wired.
Yeah, it's just how we wired, and we just have to understand that and appreciate it, and don't fight with other people, who they are and who we are.
So you mentioned the SI and the Century and kind of advertising. I know Dave or Shan, somewhat along the way, said something about updating your LinkedIn profile and making sure everybody sees it. Did that resonate with you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. When I go for some conference or some hackathon or some business event, I have to update on my website and on my LinkedIn and on my CV. Everything has to be updated. It is so stupid. Yeah, but definitely, I have to update my sensory.
Yeah, and it's got to be accurate. I'm obligated towards accuracy too.
Yeah, same, for sure.
Yeah.
I would never want anyone to know that I updated it. I would never want it to like pop up as like Gemma updated her resume. Be like, no, I don't want anyone to see it, but I also want it to be accurate.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Oh,
and
you
I got some kind of in between the two.
I don't want to show up
because my flex is in the middle. So it's like yeah, I'll let people know I updated, but only if it's something a little more major. Like if I got a new position, then yeah, I'll let people know I updated it. But if it's just one little small project I did, I'm probably not, I'll update it, but I probably won't tell the whole world I did. And if they see it, they see it. And if they don't, they don't.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm listening to y'all and wondering, like in a business context, I don't even have a business card. In fact, this morning I went and got some coffee and I was telling the gal who waited on me, who served me, she says, "Hey, do you have a business card?" Because I told her what I did. I complimented her on her handshake because it was really good. And I coach people on handshake sometimes. And so she asked me for a business card. I'm like, I'm not sure I have one, So in a business setting, I'm very reluctant to do that. But in a social or casual context, I think I'm much more likely to say, hey, okay, I'm trying to share something with somebody, so it looks very flexy, and I'm much less hesitant to do it there. But if I'm going to a conference or something like that, and I have to put my credentials out there, I'll do it because everybody else is doing it, but I wouldn't do it otherwise. So that's an interesting thing you made me think about there, about this whole flex thing.
Because it's like giving your card to somebody at a coffee shop. It's like in order to build like connections with people and more of a friendship, like let's stay in touch versus like, oh, I'm the best, I'm gonna give you my card. You're my credentials. Yeah, I would relate to that too. Like, yeah, definitely.
Well, you could just give her a card too, kind of like, okay, well, here's my contact information. Yeah, here's my email. And
well, one thing about it, I think that's kind of tainted or slanted my mindset on that. I remember I got a chance once to go to China for part of my MBA program, and the professor up front just ranted and raved about their protocols and all this stuff. So here's the exact way you give somebody your business card, and here's how you receive theirs and honor them. Especially this was in Shanghai, and so we went over there, and sure enough, it was like a big deal. They give you your card, you look at it, you make some explicit effort to comment on it, to, I guess, save face or to honor them and all those different things. And so that got me thinking, it's like, man, I'm not real comfortable with that. I don't, but I'll do it for other people if you want me to. So anyway, experiences like that along the way, and you hear these terms and you're like looking at your life through a new lens and like, oh, why do I do that? Or why do I not do that? And that's an example, I think, of it. Just, I respect the culture, obviously. I will, honor it, but when it came time for me to give them my business card, it was like, I'd rather not, but I did it because I was supposed to, right? So in any case, that's really interesting things in terms of the cultural component, as well as your own way your brain wiring is, and what your responsibility to yourself and to others are. So it's just a little off the cuff observation that I'm getting out of this.
That honestly reminded me a lot of like FE, right? Kind of like the etiquette of which like, yeah, I relate to being polite and kind, but I'm always like, I don't want to like do this procedure thing. Like, doesn't matter.
Yes. Okay. So just that's good comment, because
Yeah.
I often, in my mind, for right or wrong, I don't claim to understand FE. I've made a lot of attempts to it, and I'm still a baby. It's my eighth spot, right? Come on. I'll never be an expert on it, but I've learned, and at some point I can kind of approximate it or simulate it, right? And so you being TE and me FE, as the vernacular matters too. It's like, to me, that's probably why I felt uncomfortable with it, because it was kind of like, I'm being nice. I'm doing it to be nice, not because I think it's a genuine thing that I would want to do.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that's an FETE thing, but in some respect, it kind of maybe is. I don't know. Somebody who's an expert on that could pipe in, but your comment landed that way with me.
Oh yeah, well, good. Well, Stan, you're the closest to having that there.
To having a fee. Yeah, and what I wanted to add is that, for example, sometimes I introduce myself to a circle of friends or new colleagues in some work, and when they ask me, "Hey, what are you doing?" and I feel really uncomfortable telling about what I'm doing, like being an entrepreneur and just doing PhD in informatics, because I feel like people are distancing to they feel more reserved. They're like, oh wow, I'm not doing that, and they feel uncomfortable. So I realized that because of my, I don't know, FE double activated, or just fear of tribe. So I try to give the least important. I mean, I want them to know what I'm doing so they can start the conversation about this topic. But I don't want to brag. I don't want to show off. So this is something I'm still working on, like how to make it, because this is a very sensitive topic for me, and I have to figure out how to do it professionally, and also so it works in with people, right?
Okay, so I mean, I kind of wanted to maybe it kind of remind me of something. So like ones and fours, like they're kind of like decidery in a way with friends and flex because they're at the polls.
Yeah.
So maybe they're a little more weird about that. And whereas like twos and threes, on the other hand, they're a little more weird when it comes to like specialized responsibility because they're on the polls. And because I'm thinking like with the business card thing, I don't know. Like I don't feel weird about it. It's like, okay, here's my business card. You can use it if you want, or you don't, because like for me, those two are in the middle. I'll just be straightforward. Okay, I can maybe help you. I can maybe help you here, but you don't use it, you don't use it. But I'm a little more weird maybe when it comes to like the specialized responsibility, or what I prefer is generalized. They'll kind of like, oh, kind of like, and maybe this ties into consume last, like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to be paying attention to that part. Or I'll get weird about like somebody says, did you remember to do this? And I'm like, that wasn't in my description, and just being taken by surprise and being kind of embarrassed by that. So I guess maybe I kind of wanted to hear from all of you, like do you have like tidal waves, around these?
It is really good
Especially the one
observation.
that's on the bottom.
I think this is really accurate observation that one and two, one and four is like amplified by deciders, and two and three with observers. It would make sense why I'm so weird sometimes about my flex and friends. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that would be like congruent more. I can't keep track of it, but like incongruent for my type, incongruent for somebody. I don't know. But yeah, because like
I mean,
definitely.
you're also incongruent, right, Gemma?
Yeah, I'd be
You are also
incongruent. And you would also be wait.
No, I would be congruent, but it would amplify my problem, my decider problems. And
Oh, okay. So mine would almost like balance it out a little bit. 'Cause
yeah,
I'd be weird with observer stuff, and I'd also be weird with friends and
you
flex.
would not be weird with nothing.
Okay,
You would be
it would
incongruent,
balance.
but you would be balanced in that way, maybe.
Mhm.
That's a good theory. Like if that amplify your weirdness around something.
Yeah, if someone
And
were to ask me to like brag about myself or something, it's like, my children are so great. You know, it's like, you just talk about yourself. You know, it's like, I don't know. I grew them, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, it would be very strange.
And I think it also depends on, you know, what phase of life you're at too. You know, ask you that same question in 20 years when you're grown, you might dip into a different story or response to that might look a little bit more flexy because you might feel like I've served myself and now I can free up. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as you move through life.
That's such a good point. Yeah, because I feel like
Mm.
I'm looking at, you know, like my last animal and like flex. It's like I can't even really relate to it, but in 30 years, who knows? You know, that makes a lot of sense.
That's part of how I process things. Like when I got my social hierarchy and my now I'm double F versus MF, you know, that was a bigger twist. I'm like, okay, well, 25 years ago, you know, mid to late 20s, whatever. So, you know, if I got it then versus now, it takes on a completely different complexion, right? So that's why I pose it that way. It's like, you know, how would you process it any other way than as a mother? I mean, like they say, nothing stronger in the world than the mother's love for her children.
Right.
And so you're going to lens it through that. And instead of bragging about accomplishments or something, you're going to brag about your children, right? But as that changes, it'll be just real interesting to think about how that lens on that question will unfold for you.
Yeah, we'll have to have a you know, reunion in 20 years and see.
Somebody SI book
let's do
what's
it.
that date gonna be?
Yeah, what
Put
year
on the
is that?
calendar.
2040
Put in the calendar.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and is there a way to program it so you get a notification?
I'm sure by then it'll all be linked into your brain through the ether, right?
Yeah.
That's
Right,
the problem.
so-
Google
That's true.
Calendars probably is not going to be
It
relevant.
might not even be there anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get a
Yeah.
pulse and a heads up display visual will pop up in your brain. You'll see it and you'll select on it, move it around, and it'll give you feedback. And then you'll just get ferried off in your little helicopter to the meeting. That's how it's going to work.
Perfect. Yes, we
Yeah,
can actually meet in
exactly.
person and like just get there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, in metaverse. Maybe in the next few years we will meet in metaverse. That would be cool.
Be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we'll telepath, right? Maybe we won't have to take a helicopter. We just snap our finger, or the brain will recognize it and it'll just snap you there. Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's this like 4 SI people like trying to like
Trying to any.
yeah, we're totally doing any right now. Look at us.
We're doing it. Look at us.
This is crazy.
That's so awesome.
We're so cool. We are.
Well,
I think.
yeah. Well, Brian, okay, I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about your social two-ness.
Yeah, as we're talking, it's all coming to me because, you know, for right
Yeah.
or wrong, I'm blast first, last play, right? So, you know, I need to learn how to adjust from that, just like everybody, when you find out what your saviors and your demons are and adjust. And I learn by talking. You know, that's why I consume cheat so much. You know, I'm consumed demon. So I talk, and as I talk, realizations come to me. And as I listen, realizations come to me. Right. So I'm getting a lot out of this just passively. And actively, though, you know, the flex was one of the things that was kind of confusing to some folks about me. And maybe it might sound a little defensive or something, but I'm an old boy and I've got hundreds of stories to tell. So sometimes my blast and play nature and my just desire to be responsible and to share with other people what I think might be helpful to them is a little over the top, right? So when I'm thinking about this stuff, it looks like flex. There was some discussion that if there were jumpers in the system, that I might be responsibility first and flex second. But I really do think it's responsibility and friends, really, in terms of my intentions and the way my brain's obligations are versus what's perceived by the receiver. It's kind of like Stan talking about, mirror flexing versus him intentionally trying to flex, right? Mm-hmm. The beautiful thing about the OPS code and all personality systems insights and lenses are they get you down to the base, the core, the essence of how your neurochemistry is built and what your prioritization schemes are and what your true motivations are versus what might look like to others. So when I hear I'm social hierarchy 2, I had typed myself as that, and most people that I crowdsourced with it did as well. There was a little talk about social hierarchy 1, but that's a long-winded way of saying that one thing I'm picking up here, in terms of the business card and the aversion to putting out my business credentials out there, versus in a casual setting, I'll be very fluidly, almost braggy, flexy type of capacity. And that's not my intention, although I know for sure it comes off that way to some. My intention is hey, you guys are my friends and I'm being responsible and I'm a blaster, so I want to serve you. So I'm going to tell you some stories, or I'm going to ad hoc blast something. Here's something that's value to, so I have to put a check valve in there, so to speak, to say, hey, do I have license to blast? Am I having the right intentions, but bringing things across wrong, right? So the social hierarchy 2 thing gives me just a little bit more granularity to process that blast propensity, because blast, that's where my SI is, right? That's that information that I can give, that I can package together with TE to constructively offer something of value. So I'm going all over the ranch here a little bit, but I think it is tying together fairly nicely for me as I talk, because I'm getting an explanation for why I'm perceived the way I am in some contexts, and how I self-perceive myself. And I think that's the beauty of these systems. So I really do think they got me right. Dave says he's a social hierarchy 2 as well, or social 2, I guess is the code word now. And he offered me a bunch of insights. I only listened to his audio once. It's very rich. I'm going to go sit down with some coffee in the next few days and really dive into it and leverage off of his examples he offered to me. But that's what lands with me now. It's like, and specialized last, that one wasn't a surprise to me, because one thing Dave did say to me that resonated a lot is like, we want to spread the love. We want to spread the offering to people when you're social hierarchy 2. And I think for me, I guess you guys were recapping this, Laura, at the beginning. You said it kind of aligns with OE. And now I know that I'm as
the
close
jack
to
of all trades component.
What's that?
The jack of all trades component of it. Yes,
right. So for me, now I know that, my SI is feminine. I've had 20 months where I thought it was masculine, and I wanted to play, people could see me better than myself, right? But in this case, it turns out that maybe that intuitive thorn under my hood all this time was correct. And now I get it. Oh, wow. I'm barely SI savior. So I'm still qualified for this series, Laura. So rest easy. But I'm as close to being an NE savior as you could be without being one, because it's double activated masculine NE, and the weightiness in my brain I've felt all along was OE. So tying that back to social hierarchies and responsibility and friends, and they're lined up with OE. Well, I got shit tons of that. More than my fair share, more than other SI saviors would have. So I feel like, okay, cool. I can spread the love. I can gather information, and I can, shift into a bunch of different avenues to do what my brain's telling me to do, which is to be responsible and to serve, to be an EJ, to connect, and to do the friends thing.
Oh,
so interesting.
Can I have
really good insight.
Brian, how did you self-type yourself?
You're talking about my 512 or my socials?
512.
Well, that's a long story. I don't want to take up this whole episode, but for many, many years, going back to the 90s, I was an ENTJ. And so now
ENTJ.
I have really good, and at least 2/3 of the people in the community type me as an NTJ or an STP. So NISE. Now I've been on this campaign for my own benefit to try to get some clarity ever since Dave and Shan shocked me at 2:30 Eastern time on July the 2nd of 2022 and told me I was an SI Dom.
Okay.
And so, so like I had been living, a few decades of thinking I'm NISE, and most people thought that as well. So to answer your question is, I've had this long-standing relationship with being an ENTJ. And now I know that I'm in the Myers-Briggs system, I still am. They just can't handle what this 50-50 disposition is. And since now I know that it's masculine and E, that's why, and Jason in the tribe and I have had a little chat about this too. That's why, is because I am an ENTJ in the Myers-Briggs system, because it doesn't have the granularity the system has to really pick up on the fact that I'm, for lack of a better vernacular, I'm a delta function ENTJ who is really brass tacks an ESTJ if you look at it under a microscope. So getting to today has been a real interesting thing for me. I ask people that question all the time. How'd you get to today? So asking myself that question, I gave you just a little snapshot of it. And now I know that my SI is feminine, so I qualify for the SI Lab series, but it's like it literally is 50-50. So that the good news is though, talking social hierarchy too, if that's aligned with OE and spreading and gathering things out for the sake of responsibility and friends, I'm in a really good position to be able to do that and to honor the calling inside of me to be a social hierarchy 2, or social 2, as we call it now.
Yeah, I can relate, because I self-type myself as INTJ because I felt like I am intuitive, and I felt like I am IJ, I am intuitive, and that's probably because I'm masculine and intuition like you. But yours is even stronger. Like if I were you, I would probably type myself as intuitive to the extreme, because it double activated any in the middle, which is really strong. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
are
the
really
good
hard to
news
type, I
is
would say.
that it's the SI still wins. And my analogy for this, I have this. I might create a meme for this. I mean, I did an interweb search about this, and I said a boy and girl twins, where the guy is bigger than the girl, and to me that's so. I found this great one. I'm going to do something with it. It's this little guy who's 5 or 6, 10 years. I don't know how old he is. He's got a tuxedo on. He's smiling. He's got that NE grin, that OE-ness about him. He looks like an EP or an NP. And then the little girl's like smaller than him, wearing a pink dress. She's got her head on his shoulder like she's protecting him. That's my observers. The feminine SI has rank. It's going to, at the end of the day, disposition these things together. So I'm spending too much time talking about that right now. I'm trying to be a sport and answer your question. But in terms of responsibility and friends, I need to go and process that imagery and that double observer and this feminine SI, and how does that relate to this social hierarchy 2 typing? I don't have a better answer for you than that at this point, but it's on the way.
Okay, one more question. Are you an entrepreneur right now?
Yeah, I am. And, honestly speaking, that is a challenge for me. I'm a team person. I love groups. I love teams. I love leading. And ever since I left a big organization, work for myself. So I have to go out and kind of recruit the equivalent of teams to get that part of my life. So I'm an entrepreneur, but truth be told, I'm not quite sure an entrepreneur is good for social hierarchy too, at least in my case. Because, and in a workplace where I worked before with thousands of people, most of the, I knew hundreds, if not thousands of people there. I had this built-in friend network that was my work and friend network simultaneously. And when you work for yourself as an entrepreneur, you're not going to have that, So I'm not sure I'm answering your question the way you intended me to, but
I know. Well, the number 2 in entrepreneur is it's kind of an anecdote, because there's entrepreneurs of all 4 of the social types.
Well, Well, I guess it matches too, because like, isn't
But I
Elon
think
Musk
maybe the sense of entrepreneur, I could see why it would fit with the two, because you know, it is a wider scope thing. There's like a wider scope of things you got to be responsible for. You got to be responsible for the whole business as a whole, not just one specialized task. You got to, you know, work well with people, lead and influence others. It isn't just your own
yeah,
flex.
and for the sake of conversation here, and again, might sound flexy, but Dave and I had some conversation about the similarity of my double observers to Elon's. Right, he's a classic SH2. Dave's an SH2. They're both entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur, but there's a bunch of little twists and turns associated with that. So I think the beauty of it for me is that I love lots. You know, so the OE aligned with SH2 makes sense for me. And what I've got to go off and figure out now is how's this feminine SI that barely wins the tiebreaker map to it, because that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, and I really relate to that, having like, we're, you know, identical in the social type, but like the SI and TE are switched. So I totally identify with like that little feminine SI first, and then like masculine double activated NE at the bottom. So I really relate to that. It's just, I guess for me, it's like just the human need. Like, it's just the thing that just like, well, that's just has to be it. But it's like very feminine and not really activated much. So,
and I think like that human need, that savior, it's ultimately what you're responsible for in the end, even though you might be, you know, you feel like you're doing all this other stuff. I'm focused on the NE, you know, NE is my interest, it's my focus. I'm shoving it on people, but at the end of the day, yeah, you know, that SI is what I'm responsible for. And that's really what I need is in life, is that OI, you know. So,
and again, there's so many twists and turns and dimensions. This is a system, a code, that a bunch of parts that are interrelated with each other. And so, you know, your animals with respect to your you know, that's going to make a big, I call consume my soul animal. And now I know why. It's because it's double activated it's double masculine.
yeah.
And it's, you know, it's my NF, it's my purpose, it's my meaningfulness in life, it's my passion. So it's
kind of
like
the way I feel about my brain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bully. So OE is everywhere, and people see the SI products, but the chaos is just phenomenal. And so anyway, again, so I'm just talking this out loud with you guys to be a sport about this, but really the challenge, I think, is to find out the little feminine SI in the pink dress that really holds the enforcement stick at the end of the day. How does that, and being SH2, what can I learn from that? What kind of cautions or advantages can I glean from going off and doing some sleep processing about that? Which again, you know, I'm only less than 48 hours into this, having feminine SI, masculine NE.
You had it all along, you just didn't realize it. I mean,
my intuition was telling me something was off, you know, all along, but I just was playing the game and figuring I just couldn't see myself. And now it just clicks. But how does it relate to SH2, which is what we're here to talk about? I'm not sure yet.
Very interesting.
Gemma, how did you subtype your social hierarchy?
You know what? For years and years, I typed myself, as most people, not most, but as an INFJ.
Number 2. Okay.
I'm sorry, were you asking just social type or the?
I mean, you can say about your whole type.
Yeah, so I related to INFJ, but that was before I even understood functions. I thought, okay, I'm intuitive, I'm feeling, okay, great, I'm an introvert, perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect, great, I'm done. No sleep. I'm done. Check it off. So then I found, I don't remember his name. He's the guy on YouTube. He has an accent. It's very confusing what he talks about, but he just said, hey, you may actually, if you think you're an INFJ, you might actually be an ISFJ. So okay, I guess I'm an ISFJ. Perfect. Done. And then
done.
Yeah. So then
Harry? Is his name Harry?
Oh, maybe I don't remember. He has an interesting
was he cognitive personality? Is he cognitive personality theory? Because that's Harry.
Oh, maybe he has like an interesting piece of art on the wall behind him, almost like a sound barrier thing. I don't know, but I'll have to look at it and write to you guys. But and you can put it in the
I mean,
notes.
in sensory memory in action.
Yes, yep, exactly, 100%.
Well, I can remember the name, but I can't remember the artwork.
Oh my
I
gosh,
can't remember the name.
He has glasses and kind of like
the hair that's kind of
like a medium brown, like maybe lightish brown.
I think that is Harry.
It might be. His content is so rich, and you're like, wait a second, like,
but he's hard to understand, right?
He's super abstract, you know.
He talks kind of jerky,
it's
and
rich, but he's
not
super
fluid.
He's super abstract, and
super good.
So it's kind of like, okay, I gotta pause. I gotta go back to really parse this out. And
oh yeah, find a picture. But yeah, then I was like, okay, I guess I'm an ISFJ. I definitely related to FETI, to be honest. Up until I did the other typing, the CRG typing, and they were like, oh, TE all the way. She loves tools. She loves the thing in the Target app where you can see where all the things are that you need and you can go in the proper order.
Well, I mean, feminine TE can look a lot like FE to people, because I've gotten the same thing. You know, I went through a phase where I wondered if I was ISFJ. I mean, I've had some people say you look kind of FE, but then when they looked closer, it's like, okay, no, that's TE that she's doing. So
right, it's like so.
The people that really know how to type, you know, they were mostly saying ISTJ. You know, so.
Yeah. And I'm like, ISTJ, no, I'm like not organized in this, like I want to be, but like it's so feminine, and so I can't be an ISTJ. I don't keep good records. I don't do any of that. So, but yeah, probably ISFJ. Yes, that's it. I was gonna comment on here and be like, oh, she can't remember me.
Better not be watching.
Yeah. So anyway, probably like double feminine, SI, FE. You know what? I thought I was blast sleep, which makes no sense now, but I think blast sleep. And then I was like, wow, whichever of play and consume I don't have last, I'm going to be so proud of that third animal. And I'm like, wow, I have both of them. That's great. Sleep last. So anyways, but I feel like sleep, notice that it's like, it's great. My life is great. So.
Are you anti your social type? How did you self-type yourself?
I think that I knew I had to be friends, and I'm not like, my blast is very feminine, so I really don't do like telling people, making recommendations, that kind of thing. If I do, it's very minor. So I think I would have said 4. I don't think I picked something officially, but yeah, they just, when I got officially typed, they just said number 4. So
okay.
Yeah. And my mom is a 2 like you, and she's an entrepreneur. So, but she's FENE. So yeah.
I mean, they've said that when you were over 18 years old, then just look at yourself and ask, where are you at the social hierarchy? Because at that point you should be somewhere where your stereotypically your social type is. So if you are not doing some entrepreneurship or just something for yourself, or just something more than average, then you probably are not 1 or 2. Yeah, which is like a first step to tell what's your social type.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another thing I think that's real insightful that I've learned along the way is, comparing myself to other folks and then trying to lens this from their perspective. So I ask myself, if I'm having a conversation with somebody who's in, say somewhere between 25 and 30, which is pretty typical in the community, like, okay, when I was that age, a few decades ago, how would I perceive this, and how are they going to perceive me, and how can I understand what they are yet to grow into without sounding condescending, because it certainly isn't intended that way, but just for curiosity's sake. And then how could they be in a position to see me better than I can see myself, and also not see me as well as they could because they haven't lived those years yet. So it's like this age thing is a real wonderful thing. And then also in terms of typing, I actually think typing, probably you're better between mid-20s and mid-40s, because I mean, unless you do it for like 20 or 30 years and your NI box is built out, right? But if you're starting up with it, because you've got enough moving pieces about yourself inside your own soul to kind of hold as a compare and contrast to do triangulation. Now, if you've lived too long, which I'm not saying I have, but you know, I'm one of the older people in the community, there's no question about it. Then you round yourself out. And even Dave made a comment that, I probably do tons more sleep processing than anybody thinks I do. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
And that I can double decide much better than I could early in life. And I almost sometimes feel like I can double decide really well, just not with the body. The body doesn't participate, but in the brain I do. And so the point is that in terms of typing and self-understanding and trying to look at a lens of age as we all converse and learn from each other, there's some sweet spots, I think, in your life journey where you have enough understanding and enough of the code and some steps to leverage off of where you can draw distinctions with more clarity to triangulate what everybody else is doing. Because I was doing it, I'm subbing in for one of the type groups today, and I was on the call with them. That's when you came up, Stan. And I was like, thinking about it then, I was like, well, the more well-rounded out you get, the more integrated. And I'm not claiming I'm fully rounded out by no means, but more so than I was 20 or 30 years ago, for sure. The less jumps there are, and the more things blended together. And when that happens, there's less to triangulate from. So anyway, it's just a kind of a random conversational nugget.
I think that that's an important factor, where you are in your life, your age, your where you are in your growth journey. Not that younger people can't be further along in their growth journey because people go at different rates, but I mean, as you get older, you kind of naturally balance out. And I mean, I kind of found that in my own case, like with my own social type, I think when I was younger, it was more like, okay, if they didn't tell me that I had to do it, I'm not going to do it. It was kind of very, more specialized. I wasn't really looking at the wider scope of things. Like I'm not going to do it. It's not in my job description. You didn't tell me to do it. And now I'm kind of looking more for ways to expand that role. And I kind of want to, expand my responsibilities a little more and kind of look more at that big picture and kind of focus more on, what other people are doing. And, even though it's not maybe my most natural or my most preferred way to do it, I'm kind of seeing the necessity of it more.
That's a wonderful example. What I was just trying to express is you see that over time, and you see the shifts that are happening, and then you could see the consistencies too. It's like for myself, one of the reasons why I thought too all along, responsibility is like ever since I was an infant, 3 years old, my first memory in life, it's like not being responsible was not an option. And so I'm the exact opposite of what you described there. It's like, it's not my duty, but I'm going to go and do it anyway. And because
you are also IJ,
right?
So,
yeah. And I think for me, I have Savior DE. So, I mean, I could still kind of do that to some extent because, like there's still that desire to kind of please other people, kind of like, okay, they're going to be mad at me if I don't do it, so I'll do it. But,
yeah, there's so many pieces. It's like, okay, part of it's social hierarchy, which I know now. So responsibility. Part of it's being a 3-wing 2, that's Enneagram, image conscious. And part of it's the EJ, going out there and validate and connect. So there's so many different pieces now that we can puzzle together and do sleep processing and try to get a more comprehensive understanding of our internal motivation and why we do what we do and whether or not we need to make an adjustment or not.
I have a question actually for you, follow up. You said that you feel like you've gotten better at double deciding, but it's not your like body. You're still reacting the same way, but you've like mentally figured out. Do you feel like that's sort of like as we work through our functions and our animals, like we're still gonna maybe have the same gut reactions, but we just over time figure out like ways to like work around it, kind of like
just fake it, like fake it. You
Okay,
know how
so
to fake it.
okay, so I'll give you as quick of answer as I can. I've got a
Okay.
theory.
This is another video, probably.
It
Another
is,
video's worth.
but in any case, give you the quick on it.
Okay.
To me, there's cognitive FI and there's bodily FI. And I think if you say like an FI dom, I think they become almost indistinguishable from one another because there's this psychosomatics that throughout thousands and thousands and thousands of reps, the value systems here, the body goes along with it, and you get this cueing internally where you're an emotional person, and you get these emotional cues that you can leverage off of to know whether or not you're making a decision based upon your body's acceptance or rejectance of that. I didn't have that. So I had to very intentionally and specifically trying to get my body to participate in the feelings domain. So there's a lot that I've told other people about, so I'm going to try to keep it short. So to me, the cognitive, and then my other theory is that FI is the most loadable from your culture and your upbringing of all the cognitive functions. So you're born with a chemistry or predisposition to have FI be loadable, but what is it going to be loaded with? Well, it tends to be loaded by your upbringing, your surroundings, your mentors, your coaches, your school teaching, your all those things and more. And so in my case, I look at and I got a really strong understanding of my cognitive FI. It's like as good as anyone's, I believe. But the body, that's a completely different story. So that's my comment there is that, to be a double observer cognitively, yes, I've grown into myself, I've learned myself, and I can see the journey. But the body part is still way behind. And, things like, but I've had my moments in some of this series where people got me to choke up. So I'm coming along. So there's two different components to FI and me. To me, putting all FI into one box is greatly and almost negligent in the cognitive typology world. Because in some people's cases, they're one and the same. In other people's, and I think on one of them, they're very decoupled from each other. So as I've learned and worked on myself and have been a coach and been a leader and went to thousands of workshops, I've been working on my FI since I was in my 20s because I was told I have something called FI and I sucked at it. So I've been learning what the hell is that? But guess what? I've been learning it through the cognitive lens.
Yeah.
What are my likes and dislikes? All these different things, but the body hasn't been coupled into it as much. Right. So I have a theory that relates to that. It's from my own life walk, and I think that's where theories are born from. Invention is what necessity is the mother of invention, or whatever the expression.
Maybe this is off topic a little bit, but I kind of think of the Enneagram and the three centers. Like the head center, the body center, and the heart center. And like number 3 is image first, so they're not as focused as much on the body center, and
that's real confusing too, because I'm in the middle of the heart center. I'm a 3-wing too, so it's supposed to be heart and emotions supposed to be my thing, right? Other people can see it in me, but I couldn't feel it and see it in myself. But I could see it in them really, really well. I've always been able to pick up on people's little subtle cues in their body language that's an extension of what's going on inside of them really, really well. But discerning my own and how am I feeling? People ask, how do you feel? I don't know. Or I feel confused, frustrated, or great. Those are my 3 emotions.
Yeah.
So that's my entertaining of your question there. So regardless for anyone else's perspective and, kind of like figuring out, you made reference, I think that was really cool how you made reference to your FI and your little dialogue. And so, you've got the same basically functions as me in the same place and all that stuff, but yet maybe it's your body and your brain together participating in it because of just the course of your life in a different way than I was. And I was lacking in that dimension. Maybe you were more rich in that dimension.
Yeah, I think I'm not an outwardly emotional person other than happiness, pretty much. In certain scenarios I am, but if I get triggered by if that FI, masculine FI gets triggered, it's I do not like that. That is going in the trash, it really happens. I feel it. I do feel it in my body. So, my kids, I have a boy and then a girl. And so my girl she wears a lot of boy clothes that are from my son. And so if someone buys me something that's like for her that has like boy characters on it, I'm like, she already has boy stuff. I don't like this. Going away. Like, so I have like really strong things that I'm not in, I don't feel like I'm in control of it. I just feel like it's like, and it's just gut. So yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, so do you know your Enneagram?
Yes, I am a 1. I'm very
Okay,
one.
that's what I was gonna guess. So
Yes, I'm very
another
body
theory is that
centered.
yeah, your body it participates in things.
Yeah.
I'm not a body gut centered person, so
Mm.
the internal sensations have never been
Yeah. Well, for
really weird
me,
though,
I'm
because
very,
people see me and they say I wear my emotions on my sleeve. They can see it, it's there, but it's not pronounced inside me. Like in your case, it is. So that's a gift to you.
Yeah.
And so when you like for
Yeah.
your children, the gender of the clothing or
Yeah.
whatever, the vernacular that's appropriate, I mess up
Right.
sometimes, so I apologize. So whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
your body and your brain together are creating that masculine FI response.
Yeah. And there's no
You
logic
need to
behind
the
it. There's
brain
no
or it's
TI
not gonna
there.
happen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good insight that you have in a being a body centered, I think person in Enneagram can offer some benefits, but on the other side of the equation too, it could, because like people always expect, and maybe I can learn from you since we have the same animal stack and we're both the same functions and sleep last, right? So I'm gonna
Right.
have to process what does this mean now to me that I'm not double masculine, sleep last, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I don't know because I haven't had enough time to do the sleep. I'm like, I don't want to bother with that. I can play it out. I'll play it out. Just that'll be great. But I don't-
okay. Well, and I guess too, like I'm a head center type, so I'm not body center either, but I do feel emotions in my body, but I'm wondering if maybe that's because my sleep, my FISI sleep is double masculine. So there's kind of more of a kinesthetic component to it.
That makes
Well,
sense. Are you a 6?
I'm a 6, yeah.
Okay, okay. For some reason, I think I remember that from the Facebook group things. Yeah.
Yeah, sixes and
Pretty,
nines
pretty
tend
sure,
to tell that
although I
story.
have been typed by some as a 5 and some as a 1, and so but I'm about 95% confident in 6. 6 is never 100%. So
Sure. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
What about
How would
you,
you type me
Ann?
in a Enneagram?
what?
How would you type me in a Enneagram? Because I am not into Enneagram.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
You can guess.
I would
You
guess
are double
5.
activated masculine intuition. You can
I
guess.
would guess 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say
5
5.
wing 6
Only one I
maybe.
can really,
Yeah,
yeah.
5. I was gonna say 5 wing 4, but 5 wing 6 probably is more accurate. I'm no expert.
I'm not
Okay.
really an expert either. I mean, I have a hard enough time figuring out my own type, so
Yeah, right.
But
not
you
responsible for
have a
others.
representation of
Not responsible.
mind, a mental centered, and, being number 1 and being SITI or TiSi. Those all tend to probably go along with a 5, I would guess.
5 is an observer or something like that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, like just you never want to be in a situation
Investigator.
where you don't have the knowledge or seem like you don't want to be seen as not knowledgeable. That
Okay,
was
that definitely that's me. Like going into area where I have no expertise is like what? I have to prepare.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I kind of feel the same way, even though I'm consumed last and Stan's consumed last too. And I'm wondering if it's maybe related. Well, I think for me, it's related to the specialized, the specialized wants to be knowledgeable. They want to be masterful. And then to a lesser extent, there's a flex in there too. Like you don't want to look bad in front of other people,
Mm,
I mean, do you feel that way,
yeah.
Stan, being a number 1? Like, I don't know, like.
Yeah, definitely. It's the strongest factor. I just don't want to look I don't even know what I am so scared of. It's like some people can reveal or just see that I'm pretending to be the best, but I am not in other areas. It's like don't don't touch me in this area because I am not competent in. I don't know, but for example, when I started dancing classes, I felt like paralyzed because I had to be spontaneous and just be funny, and I couldn't dance at all. It was the hardest activity for me ever. So yeah, but then I realized it was just because I couldn't allow myself to be like the beginner or the worst dancer in the room. I wanted to get as quickly as possible the average level, so that I'm not so no one can point at me and say, "Hey, look at him. He's the worst one." Like what is he doing?
Yep.
I was practicing in my room in my home for the whole day, just repeating the steps. I wanted to get as fast as possible to the average level, so that I would not
Yeah,
be
I
the
can
worst one.
relate to that. And I don't know, I don't necessarily need to be the absolute best, but I'm not going to be the worst. Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
It's more you're
definitely.
avoiding embarrassment than you are trying to be the best.
yeah.
Yeah, but
It sounds like.
yeah, I would agree.
So, like, two things here, Stan. One is, well, congratulations for facing that and engaging it anyway. It was outside your comfort zone. So you can't grow
Yeah.
without getting outside your comfort zone. So kudos to you for that. And the second thing is, I guess you're kind of like we're doing a little mirror flexing again so that you could prove to yourself that you were good enough before you showed it to everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, how can I prove to myself if I can see that I'm the worst one?
Well, no, but you went in your room or wherever in a quiet spot by yourself and you confronted it, and then you got yourself up to a certain level that then you can go out there into the world and show it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's probably how I do that. I will just have to prepare. I just have to prepare so that I feel comfortable, that I'm not. I won't embarrass myself. That's true. That's how I operate. Sometimes I
Somebody
over
who's
prepare.
like flex or specialized really demon, they might be more willing to go out there and say, "Oh, what the hell? I'm not an expert at this. Let's just have fun, right?" Right. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
another lens on this.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
you, Gemma?
I belong
Oh,
to
yeah,
a Spanish group, and we practice speaking in Spanish. And I think that the guy that runs it, he's probably a number 4 because he's just puts it all out there, and he doesn't care if he makes mistakes, and he's laughing
Yeah.
at himself, and I mean,
Yeah, I want people to like me. I want to
he's
be
just a lot of fun, and everybody just really likes him. They're drawn to him, and I think I would guess his 5'12" is maybe like any FE, maybe he's got a lot of any, and maybe
I always thought that this
probably,
is just
and he's kind of
this,
crack-headed too. He's always really high energy. It's just
isn't it just high play? Like play is more opportunistic. Just let's go, let's learn as we go, and let's see what happens, and spontaneously. So maybe that's just added in the added component. That you are play high and friends high. I don't know.
So that's like 2s and 4s, right? DE and OE with that kind of play would just put it up there.
Yeah.
So I can see that with you, Stan, because like you were saying, you went back to your room and you practiced it. That definitely lines up with like the number 1, kind of because you want to be good at it, but also you don't. You'd rather have the sleep first before you go in and just jump in.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I have to prepare. You don't see me being incompetent. You don't see me when I was about to give a lecture at my university, and I felt like I'm not competent. I wanted to be an expert, like the best of the best. And so I was preparing all days for weeks. Everyone was asking me, why are you doing that? It's just you are a PhD student, you are not a lecturer. So you are allowed to be incompetent. I mean, not to the extent that I wanted to be. So yeah, that has a lot of the disadvantages. But I try to convince myself, and also get to the standards that I put on myself. It helps that I am motivated all the time. I wake up in the morning and I already know what to do. I just want to get to my work and be the best version of myself. Just improve all the time. I have to remind myself, hey, just slow down. And no one cares. No one is so passionate. No one no one care about if you are prepared that much or not. Just play with people, just show them that you are not expert in that area, and they will understand. They also just want to chill and have good time. So
And
yeah,
I
it's not
found a
about
similar experience when I used to teach. I used to teach introductory chemistry at a community college, and this was before I became a librarian, which is what I do now. But I thought for me, I was very, very focused on the content. Like, okay, this is the content you have to know, and and kind of very cut and dried, and I think I learned that I needed to be more flexible, with the students' needs and what they wanted, even if it meant veering off from the agenda a little bit. So it's kind of like I don't know, maybe that was, well, demon OE, maybe demon friends to some degree, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
yeah,
I got
But
more effective when I actually made more mistakes, and I didn't have to know everything. And sometimes some student would come with some off the wall question that I never thought of. My NF
yeah,
never think of it. And I find that in my work today. And I think it's more okay to not know everything and just kind of be more flexible with people and
yeah, exactly.
go for rules and
you feel like partially like your masculine SI, you're the only one here who has that naturally you're going to be less flexible with that. So that's like a thing to
when I
kind
was younger, I think it was definitely more of an issue. It was kind of like, okay, we got to stick to the syllabus. Well, the syllabus says we're doing this, so we're going to do it. And this is the time frame. We have exactly 5 minutes left. We're not going over. And it's like, at the library, I teach. I taught a workshop on using the Silhouette Cameo paper cutter, and it went overtime. And I'm like, well, that's okay, because they learned and they got to practice it themselves. And if I didn't go overtime, it would have cut short, and the class would have felt incomplete for the students. So, and it was okay to go 15 minutes overtime. They seemed to enjoy themselves, and it didn't matter that I couldn't answer all their questions, because I mean,
Yeah.
it
you're
was more about
considering them.
the rapport with people. And I found that out too, like in my job search journey. And I think, and it's like, well, I'm interviewing, and I know I'm competent, but why am I not getting job offers? And I think maybe it was the people factor. Yeah, kind of like, it's not all, and I think a number 3 has to learn this, it's not all about your skills. It's kind of about who you are with people, and getting along with people. And I think, as a feminine T savior, I do get along with people well, but I also feel like it's more a surface level thing. Like, maybe there's not enough deeper connections with coworkers and stuff. So that's another part that I'm trying to work on, is kind of that more, when is it okay to just let loose and just chit chat, and do I have to be constantly productive all the time? And just getting to know people on a more personal level, beyond their work. So
I'm wondering, well, one, a comment. I love that you're such a good fit for what you do, a librarian. But two, I'm wondering, when you went over the time limit and you allowed yourself to do that, did you high five yourself? I mean, what was that like? Because
I didn't
you
high
got
five.
uncomfortable.
No, I just felt like it was, I didn't really high five myself, but I mean, I was aware that, I'm growing, and I'm growing in this area. I'm more flexible than I was, I think, 10 years ago. That would have been a lot more of a stretch. It would have been beyond my comfort zone. And now it's like, it's no big deal, Um, and yeah, thanks to OPS and
Yeah.
So you gave yourself a cerebral high five.
A cerebral high five. Okay, yeah.
Well, I'm going to pick on Gemma, a curiosity here, because we're talking about the demon side of the equation here.
Yeah.
So like, flex, right? So
Oh, yeah.
how uncomfortable is it for you? And where do you see some place in your life that you could practice on it?
It's very hard for me to flex if I'm not flexing about like other people, which isn't even flex, but like people that I know,
Like your children.
that's super easy to do. But yeah. Well, even sending you guys that recording, I think it was the music recording, because I was like, oh, this is kind of in response to something that somebody wrote. And like, I was like, oh, but I definitely wouldn't have sent it if nobody had asked. So yeah, I feel very uncomfortable with that because I'm trying to be accommodating. So I'm like, do they want it? If they were to ask, I would definitely provide it, but I'm not just going to share it. But I'm trying to think of like what areas I could flex in. I'll have to really think about that. But
Is there an area where you want to be the best, like where you want to dominate and to be known for?
Okay, so what I'm working on right now is getting somewhere close to a minimalist type of lifestyle. So I'm trying to like declutter things. And so I would like for someone to come in my house and be like, wow, this really feels not cluttered and feels like you can focus and really think in this space. But I wouldn't want them to really be like, oh, this is so much better than this other person's house.
Well, okay, so yeah, be careful about that, because there's a friend of mine. She actually wrote a book about what you just talked about.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
what's her
so
name?
she posts pictures though, because part of writing a book is you have to flex, because
Right.
you have to put your stuff out there for people to know it. And it's one of the things I don't want to write a book about, because I hate sales. I'm sorry. I'm working on it, but I don't like putting stuff out there, sell or promoting something.
Yeah.
And they're going to be bothered by me trying to sell them something.
Yeah,
But you
I hate
got to
that
do
too.
that, right? So she's doing that. And I'm watching this process unfold, right? So it's like part of that, though, what you just hit on was, it's like, as admiring as I am how organized she is and her house looks like a freaking museum, a part of me is like, I don't want to invite her to our house.
Oh yeah.
Because this, is the expectation now that I got to do that. So when you're talking about that and flexing, and you're talking about, I want people to come over and see how orderly my house, but not so much so feel bad, right?
Still consider it. Yeah. That's such a good point. Yeah, because I want people to feel comfortable. I want people to like me, and I feel like if I'm seen as like being better than them, or if it seems like I think I'm better than them, then that's going to harm my relationship with them. And like the DE and the number 4, like all of that, and also like my Enneagram 1, my perfection is not like, did I load the dishwasher correctly? It's like, did I act in this situation the way that like the goal that I had set? Like, did I go to that party and was I the most fun I could possibly be? Did I go to this and like, was I the exact right way to be at that moment? So yeah, it's like flexing isn't really something that feels correct to me, or like as perfection for myself. So I'll have to think about that. Like, where can I do that? What little ways can I do that?
I feel like even I can relate a lot to yourself, and technically I'm Savior Flex, but it's second. But I think because of the Savior DE, and sometimes it's hard for me to, and this is something I'm still trying to understand, is like differentiating between like Savior DE versus Savior Friends. And I think it's more like the human, like the social needs. Somebody told me this, like the social needs is what you really need and what you're after, and maybe the human needs is kind of more how you are actually going about it. I don't, because I was kind of raised to think, bragging is a bad thing. You can't show that you're better than everybody else, because you'll just alienate people. So I have that as well. but they're still inside. There's this desire, like, I want, I don't want to be just average, I want to, I
Yeah.
still want to be seen as, good by others, but not so good, so far out there that it's alienating, but maybe
Yeah.
like good enough to teach somebody and to be of use.
Yeah. I think of that makes so much sense. I think that the way that I could see flexing the most, okay, it's not directly just me, but it's sort of like through my children, like, look how great a job I did raising my kids. Like, I figured out the exact, right way to do this. And, here's the product of like all of my work. But that's still kind of putting it on other people. But it's like, I want to be the best parent that I could possibly be. So maybe that sort of.
Would it be hard for you to write a book about raising children? Like yeah, like getting the credit for you what you feel like you are great at.
You know what? I enjoy taking the information in and applying it to myself, but I don't think I'd want to write a book because I see my ST like blast as more being like, here's where you need to stand and here's where you need to stand so that this can like function better. But I feel like the parenting is like too emotional almost, that I don't really feel like I could tell somebody else how to do it, but I can like, okay, yeah, because my consume, yeah, NF consume, like taking that in and like applying it to my life. But I don't think I just, yeah, I don't know that I could, or I don't really have an interest in telling other people the kind of NF side. I don't know. Does that make
And
any
even
sense?
if it would give you a lot of, I don't know, money or reputation, respect, and all of that, pride, you don't want that. You're just not
Not
interested in
really.
that.
Not
Huh.
really. Yeah. I
That's
just like the
interesting.
hassle of writing. I don't like to write. Because to me that's like a little bit of like sleep. I'd rather just like talk. I see doing a podcast, but then again, I don't feel like I'm a good authority. Like I feel like I can be interviewed just talking about myself, but I'm like, yeah.
But like you could do it more like Joe Rogan style. He's a social four, and he just kind of interacts with other people. He brings in all these different guests, and they just play talk, and he's
Yes.
very
Yeah.
successful. So I mean,
That's
so much
what I can
about
do.
like, I hear I'm going to give you a lesson,
Yeah, right. No, totally. I could
And
absolutely do
sometimes
that.
indirectly he teaches, through the play interaction, but doesn't seem to
Yeah.
be his focus. So.
That's such a good point. Okay, I'll have to like watch watch him, another social four.
Do you want to be like the paradigm of parental procedures without flexing?
Yeah. I want to do everything exactly perfectly, but not seem like I'm showing off. Yeah. So it's like I found all of my sources. I found the podcasts I like. I found the websites I like. I found all the experts I like. There's like that FI. And I just want to like utilize them exactly perfectly. Did I get the correct cup for my child? Did I get the correct, materials and like so that their mouth can develop properly? And like but it's very sensory. But I also I feel like I'm taking in information, but not, I don't know. I don't feel like I could be an authority to teach about it.
Perhaps there's someone out there you could partner with then because you have all this good information and insight, and you've got this thirst and desire to share it with friends as a specialist. So
It's true.
you've got some thought.
Yeah, I could other people do the flexing and I'll just chat with them.
Well, oftentimes,
Delegate the flexing.
SI folks are comfortable being behind the scenes. Laura, you made comments about that a time or two. Be a specialist, maybe behind the scenes. You don't have to be the one out there leading or coordinating it, but you get that great feeling and that response inside of you for that, that one in you and that FI inside of you to get the feedback of knowing, hey, I helped people out there. I was a friend to the world of parenting. Okay, I'm off my.
Yeah. Though I will say, because that I know this sounds weird. I don't really have a desire to help people.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So is
But do you
that
have an obligation to? Because I think those are two different things. Because I would say the same thing, honestly. You know, I feel,
yeah,
you know, I think with Savior DE, you feel obligated
right.
to,
I want to take into
you
consideration
know,
people's needs, but
yeah, but do I enjoy the process of it? Do I want to be doing it all the time? No.
yeah, no,
I
no,
mean, sometimes it does give me pleasure and joy, but it's not like my whole life revolves around that.
yeah,
But then
yeah. So
maybe
like,
Yeah,
that's
for
more
me,
of an Enneagram 2 thing, you know, to
yeah, I just want to like do my perfect thing and like have my friends and but like yeah, help the helping that because that's kind of the difference between the 4 and the 2 almost, right? Because we're both like want to like have friends, but I don't want to tell anybody, I don't want to recommend anything. And 2s are a little bit more, I'm responsible to kind of help you kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, the responsibility. So one thing that's coming to me right now is like I think we've validated all of uh our 2048s right here. I guess what is it? Is it 2048 now?
it is.
Um
Well,
yeah. I think we have, and I know Laura, you might have to go run the hill again, you or not, I don't know, but I think we
run
all
the
have
hill. Okay, explain that one.
well, run the hill in terms of maybe like get a validation or something on some component or whatever. But to me, it's like we're all typed right. We've kind of validated this in this episode here.
Oh yeah. And I
yeah.
appreciate that helping me work through all of this. I wasn't expecting that. And this is very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it is. So anyone, Laura, you probably want to do whatever you're going to do, but I just have a question. Anybody else like something SI and SH that came out to you during this time together that you might want to highlight or found compelling or interesting? Because again, that's the theme we're talking about here. Not that we haven't covered it, but I'm just wondering.
And I just want to also mention, like, for anybody who's watching the video, you can also put it in your comments too.
Yeah.
Because I do read the
Great.
comments and I do respond to them.
Awesome.
Yeah. Trying to think.
A lesson learned or something, a realization or aha or something you think somebody might leverage off of, anything.
I actually hadn't until this conversation realized that 1 and 4s are actually like reversed order and that 2 and 3s are kind of reverse or exactly reversed order. So that's an interesting thing that I learned, but that's not really SI. I guess it's in like an SI thing. It's a sensory thing that I just realized.
Mhm.
But yeah.
For me, it was more like getting in touch with people who are officially typed, let's say that, because in my life, I can see people who I guess they are this social hierarchy type. And here I could validate my theory, my understanding with the reality, like how you are and how you act. And I think that that was very beneficial to me, that I could validate. For example, number 3 for me was always like a mystery. I couldn't understand number 3. Like, how can you be flex and specialize and not want to be number 1? Like, you can be. I mean, if you want to flex and specialize, then you have to be the best. I couldn't distinguish number 1 and number 3, and now I kind of see that. Where is that? I mean, it is also that I am IP probably. I think that being IP also plays a huge role in that. Yeah,
I think you
that's
eliminated that really good for me because the way you phrased it, and correct me if I'm wrong in paraphrasing you here, but like, really you want to flex to yourself above and beyond everything else. And I think when we hear those terms, we're thinking flex. Oh, you're out there on stage, showing off, and you've got lots of intentionality to show to others that you're the best. And maybe that's part of flex, but what you've illuminated for me is that it's flexing to yourself that's really the thing that's going to serve your soul the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's mostly satisfying my standards.
Yeah, and I
And
think that's true. It isn't always the showing off to others part. It's a lot of
yeah,
it.
it's just high standards, high expectations, and just the drive to achieve that. I would say that. I just want to do that. Is if I would do one thing in my life, I would just achieve my goals, and I will do. I can sacrifice everything, but not my dreams and ideas and who I want to become. So I would just say that this is a huge drive. That's how I see it right now.
So would you mind sharing, you mentioned something about PhD, what kind of, because, okay, so I'll just share with you, SI and TI to me are the academic functions. So the fact that you said you have or pursuing a PhD was like, of course he is, right? So that's presumptuous of me, but is that shareable?
So first of all, I was not into academia or education at all. I would never say that I would go to academia,
Okay.
because I was into business and just business, and I feel like a fish in a water when it comes to business. I can just figure out how to create a product and sell it to people. That's super easy. But when I'm about to do science, it's like, wow, I have to consume. I have to understand what other people are doing. I have to like research and do the state of the art, and then build on top of that. And I find that consuming is not like the most common function. Consume last is not the most common function in science. I feel like most people are, they might be TiSi, but they are probably sleep, consume, or just not
Mm.
consume last, because it's not helpful at all. It's not all. I sometimes I feel like I am in a bubble, or I'm just in a wrong place, because I try to bring some marketing or some business. Each of my presentation or my lecture is there has to be something about business. That's how can you use that to create a business. Yeah, but getting back to your question, I don't know what are I mean, my goals are first of all to achieve this PhD, and start a company. I mean, create a newer and better company. And I also am working on OPS right now. I'm with my students actually. My students are researching the OPS, machine learning with OPS, meaning that how can machine learning type someone based on his interviews. My other students are doing some kind of simulation, like a Sims game, where the agents are controlled by ChatGPT or just large language models that are told to emulate some people of that personality type. And I think that this might be a cool idea to create an experiment when it comes to personality types or personality theories.
Cool.
Yeah, and besides that, I'm working on blockchain and everything that is associated with cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, especially internet voting protocols. So that are my plans for the next 5 years, I guess, because it will take a lot of time. And then I don't know, we will see. I would like to become more people person, like don't just do ST and business. I would like to, I don't know, write some poetry or write some book, or just become more people person, because that's the area where I can grow the most. Maybe then I will probably go back to no, I will try to do it at once. Those two areas. Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. So we're all consumed demon here, right?
Yep, we all are.
Yeah.
You kind of said something there that, of course, forced me to an acronym. Of course, Laura, I've got to do that, right?
Yep.
Consumed demon
But the
stress
show just
syndrome.
isn't complete without a Brian acronym, so.
Yeah, CDSS, consumed demon stress syndrome.
Yeah.
So the way you said that, one of my issues with academia is, I guess I now know it's feminine sensory versus masculine, perhaps, but it's really consumed demon. Because the academic setting kind of stresses me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm consumed demon. So I don't know if that resonates with you guys at all, or if that's
It
just
does, because I majored in biochemistry in college, and I thought I was going to get a PhD, but of course I did it for the wrong reasons. It's like, well, PhD is this high level degree, the specialized flex and people will think I'm really smart and oh my gosh.
There we go.
And but my heart, well, first of all, my heart wasn't into it, and you really had to be super immersed, like that is your whole life is some specialty. And you know, and it's not that and of course the specializing itself wasn't so hard, but when it wasn't of interest to you. And then I think the thing is, it's kind of like it was the consume. It was kind of like I don't have the, I feel like I don't have the information I need here. How do I get the information when just playing off of other people wasn't the best option, when they weren't really responding, other people around me weren't responding positively to that. They're just like, read this stack of journals, and there was all this jargon I didn't understand. And then it was like, and then it's kind of like looking up a word in a dictionary, and then and you don't, but you don't know the words in the definition. So then you got to look up more. And it was just like this big ending chain and come up with some completely original research. And you know, I'm not an innovative out of the box thinker like that. I build on people's ideas and then tweak things. That's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I couldn't hack it. And I mean, I ended up dropping out of the PhD program and switching to the less rigorous master's, you know, because I just didn't want to do it all for nothing. So at least I got something out of it. But yeah, I mean,
I think
I don't know
consumer,
if that's
your DI is going to factor into it a lot. Like
yeah.
you mentioned, you're not interested in that. That's my thing, and I'm like double masculine consume now. It's NF, NEFI. If I'm interested in it, man, I'm all in. If I'm not, let me consume cheap. And in school, you don't get to choose necessarily all the classes that you could be in your wheelhouse, so to speak, right? So that's where
I
I
don't
got.
know. And like I said, because I was consumed last, or maybe because it was SI, you know, sometimes with SI, you know, like I think it's going to be the same as it was before, you know, because my experience, it's always been like this, therefore it will continue to be that way. And that's kind of a pattern I've discovered in myself. Well, I thought grad school would just be like 4-year college, only harder classes, and which it was, but there was a totally new component that I wasn't psychologically prepared for. And that was this whole research stuff. This is new groundbreaking research that people haven't done before. So the outcomes are unknown. So you don't know how long you're really going to be in the program until you have enough data to write a defense that you can defend. And I mean, and it was just all these unknowns, and my background didn't prepare for it. And like I said, I kind of chose my major. I mean, even
if you
the
know,
major itself, I kind of chose for the wrong reasons, because I thought, well, because I did good in the classes, because I thought I was drawn to it because people would think I was smart, you know, and it was a dumb reason. It really was. And
would you do it if you knew that it would? Yeah, I mean, because you are emphasizing that it was about uncertainty, and would you do that if you would know that it would take you only 4 years, and you would?
If I knew it was like 4 years,
sure?
because it's sort of like high school. You know that high school is going to take you 4 years as long as you pass all your classes. You know you're going to get done in 4 years. Whereas grad school, at least with that PhD program, you could say, well, on average, most people take, and actually with that program at that school was like 5 years, you know, was kind of more typical, and some were doing 6 or 7. And it was just like all that, you know, and some people that got lucky or workaholics or overachievers might have done it in 4. But I mean, you know, that unknown and
Looking like an SI Dom.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to me, it's the other way around. The
Very
more
related.
open-ended and research-oriented it is, the more I thrived. You know, but if it's like highly prescriptive memorization, same old, you know, pattern and all, I'm like, drug
and
me
I would
nuts.
be, and actually I would be okay with that, even if it wasn't the most exciting, because at least there's that predictability and the security of knowing, well, if I just study hard enough, I'll do good. Yeah, you know, and And the grad
Yeah,
school
that's
wasn't
a prescription, you know,
quite like
this
that.
is
It wasn't quite
formula.
like that. It was more,
Tell me what to do and how to do it, and I'll go off and knock it out of the park.
yeah, and I can do that really well. I mean, yeah, I mean,
For
But
me, it
if
was
there,
also like, yeah, go on.
oh no, no.
Yeah,
No,
I just wanted to
there
say
was not
that for me it was exactly that part that was the most appealing to me. That I wanted a huge challenge for me that would allow me to prove other people and also myself that I am capable of doing that. So I guess that after PhD, I will just look for another huge challenge that I can achieve. I feel like I have to be under huge pressure to feel satisfied, to feel fulfilled, and that I am in a good direction. Because if I don't feel anxious for 1 week, then I know that something is wrong. I am not putting enough pressure on myself, and I am just losing somewhere. So,
Yeah,
so
so
yeah,
that's like your own internal sensation or
well,
barometer.
the masculine
Pressure on me,
DI
I'm
at the
doing the right
top. I
thing.
got to put the
yeah,
pressure on myself and the flex, number one. I mean,
yeah, just put the
Yeah, but
pressure on myself.
you put a lot of pressure on yourself. Of course, you know, you mentioned your motherhood, so obviously that's a huge part of it, is for sure. But in any other
yes.
aspect,
I definitely, the things that I worry about, and this was when Shan did my audio, actually, it was really cool. She basically said the things that I worry about are all observer issues when I was talking about people, but I'm concerned about, we're going to go to the park and I'm not going to have the water bottle that I had planned on. And it's
Mhm.
like all of this stuff, making sure I'm prepared. I got the bag and I got the this, and then I have a I have an app that is a checklist, and it's like every day I joke to my husband, only, 92 things left today. Do you think I'll get to them? And he's like, oh, only 92. That's really great. So it's basically letting things go through the cracks. So I'd rather have more on the list and feel like, okay, I'm never gonna get to this, but my anxiety is just all the time that something is gonna get forgotten, basically. And so I'm gonna end up somewhere and not have what I need. And so the
Mhm.
million things on the checklist are, I'm like, well, it's on there. I'm not gonna forget it, but yeah. So I do
my
put a lot
observation
on
with SI DOMs like you and Laura in particular here,
yeah.
and we're SI saviors, but not DOMs, right?
Mhm.
So it's a little different. It's like,
Mm.
okay, it's like I'm going to get a dopamine neurochemical kick out of writing the list in anticipation of being able to scratch the list off.
scratch
And
it off. Oh, that's a good
list.
feeling when you
And it's this
cross things off of
ongoing
the.
neurochemical propensity to create lists, scratch them off, to create more lists, to scratch them all off, and you're getting this constant kick out of it.
But
Well, the interesting thing is I'm not making a new list typically. I don't actually
No.
like the creating the list.
when I create lists, I create things that genuinely need to get done. I don't create it just to
Mm.
cross it off. I do create things that I generally need to do.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, it is emotional high to accomplish something.
Yeah.
I would challenge you to go off and do some sleep processing on that as to what's really going on when you create a list. You know, we love mysteries and anticipation as a humans.
That's another. That'd be another
We get
video talk.
neurochemicals from
right
that.
there.
So anyway,
Making
it's just a
SIs
theory.
in your list.
I think for me it's because I can let it go once it's written down. And that has greatly reduced. I have very little anxiety about things because if I can just write it down, I write down the stupidest things. Oh, I saw, this is not what I would do. I'm just making a joke here, but there was a penny in the hallway and I'm laying in bed, got to put that away, and just by writing it down, I would never do that. Something that minute, but yeah, it's just getting it out of my brain.
Yeah, I
So,
do the same. Just I feel overwhelmed, and putting
yeah.
everything down on some notes is like, okay, now I can see it. It's just 10 things. I can manage them. I can put them in some graph, and I can plan for that. But when it's only in my head, that I cannot keep track of on all of that. So
Yes.
it's just to help
Yeah, some
myself.
physical representation of it somewhere.
Yeah,
It's
Yes.
there. It's concrete,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
I
So
can
yeah,
never.
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, and at the beginning of this series, Laura and I have been leading here. we had in our second episode, we talked to Dave of all people, and we kind of defined what SI was and offered some procedures, memory across the timeline. But fundamentally, it's OI, right? It's organizing internally some kind of system for ourselves, and it's time, space, and materials. And if you organize your time, space, and materials, and you have a placeholder for it, an SI dumb is going to feel a sense of relief, right? Because you've captured it, you've got it organized. It hadn't floated off into the ether.
Yes.
And there it is. I've got my matrix of stuff, so I'm set. Now I'll figure out how to execute it and add to it, but I don't want anything floating off.
Yeah.
Do you all relate? Does everyone relate to that? Or
Yeah.
I relate. Definitely.
I do. It's just, this barely in control feminine SI now that I know I have is just, oh boy, got its job cut out for it. So I never get there, not even remotely close. I've got humongous.
But on the other hand, you're supremely balanced on the NESI, whereas I'm very like all the weights on
pluses
SI
and minuses to
pushing
that for
down,
sure.
and NE is just like.
Yeah, it's balance, and like anything, everything has two sides of the coin, right? So it's balanced, and there's lots of strengths. But boy, that feminine SI that I now know that I have, it's taxed like son of a gun. So I never get everything down. I'm never satiated. Never have been. In fact, when I worked in the space program, I had this one realization one day. I called it non-disposition land. And I was constantly frustrated because I was over this large organization, lots of moving pieces, lots of project managers working for me, thousands of pieces scattered to the winds, all needing to be constantly organized and reset. And I kept getting super frustrated because that is an emotion, a feeling in my body that I do resonate with.
Yeah.
And now I know why. It's because that double observer is so balanced, but the SI is not strong enough. There's too much. And so I came up with a term one day. I just remember sitting, I got a snapshot image in my head, exactly where I was sitting, looking at the trees and the pond outside my office. And I'm like, I'm driving myself nuts. I'm expecting magically to get what I call to NDL, a non-disposition land, where everything had its place. And in that job, that was absolutely impossible. The best you could do is keep marching the hill, knowing that it was always required. And that's my life. Nothing's ever settled. I've never got even remotely close to being settled. There's like piles and piles or ideas coming out the wazoo that, ooh, I gotta write that down. I gotta write like you do it, but then it's in like 5 different journals. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta go get those 5 different journals sometime, sit down, and then turn it into one journal. And I start to do that, and then I create another journal.
So your instinct is to organize it, but it's just not achievable because of the NE being so
strong. Yeah.
It's the 50.1 feminine SI is just doesn't it's in my head saying I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And then the 2 times masculine NE that I know now I have is like, yeah, good luck.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just a constant battle.
Yeah,
so anyway,
I feel the same.
Yeah, so I mean, I think.
All right, Laura, you want to take us home or?
Sure. Yeah, so I think we just had a really great discussion on social types and SI and the link between the two. So I want to thank you very much, Stan and Gemma, for all of your insights. I feel like I can understand number 1s and number 4s, and you too, Brian, number 2s better. So yeah, just thank you very much for coming. And in the description, I will link my other social types videos, so you can watch those if you want. And kind of about what's maybe coming ahead with the SI Lab series, I'm going to let Brian talk about it because it was kind of his idea. So
Yeah, sure. So just for the listening audience and for ourselves here, TE and out loud here, we have an idea that we might want to do a summary. Like I call it capstone. It's like 11 series, maybe get the high points, maybe do a Dave Letterman top 10 insights or anecdotes or something, and maybe have an SI expert. We've asked Jamie a couple months ago now to consider that, and so we need to go knock on her door and see if she's still good for that. And then maybe invite Dave or Shan or both of them onto the series to kind of get their perspective on our summary and the SI series overall, because as they said, SI is hard to recognize, and to, even if you have it, it's hard because, the standard is really high, like I just expressed and you guys expressed as well, and get their perspective since they both have NI, and kind of round this thing out and maybe bring it home, put a bow on it. So we're going to maybe make a request or two along those lines to put a bow around this. But then Laura's mentioned to me that, hey, we've been kind of ad hoc planning this as we're going. That's in my wheelhouse. I'm real good with that adaptive planning. And Laura has been playing with her NE and doing some adaptive planning of her own, and suggesting, no, let's not put a bow on it and put it away. It's just keep it open, and there might be some other themes that emerge from time to time. So we might be doing some more SI labs even after this intended capstone episode. So we're hoping that we can, make a footprint, give a gift, make a contribution to the tribe in terms of putting more meat on the bones of what SI is and what it's not, and how people might be able to leverage off of that to make their life a little better for themselves with their SI, or in dealing with the inevitable SI people in their lives that they can get more insights from as well. So that's our intention, and that's where we hope to go from here.
Inevitable SI people.
They're
yeah,
everywhere.
you can't get away from it, right? It's going to always
be
there, and the question is going to be as to how natural it is for you. And I think even the person that's the most gifted with SI probably thinks they wouldn't probably give themselves an A. Maybe some would, but most would probably say, yeah, you think I'm good, but look at all this I haven't done yet. Because it's this life never lets you get away from it. So I guess we're blessed that we have it, since life requires it so much. And it gives us some empathy and some consideration for folks who might be struggling with it as a demon or not even have it in their stack. So there's two sides to everything. So we wanted to shine the light on that and illuminate those insights. And hopefully we've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
Let's make SI great again.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's hilarious.
So whether or not, there's more SI Lab episodes, I will still be posting videos on my YouTube channel about OPS, about processing my type. I've been thinking a lot more about Enneagram lately, so I might throw in some Enneagram videos on there as well. So want to see more videos, subscribe and stay tuned. And once again, thank you all.
Name your site for folks, and also just straight up confessing here publicly, I'm going to be trying to have conversations with Laura to get her to consider another name for her site if she so chooses to, so that it gives a little bit more of a resonance for what she has to offer, because it's a real good site and she's got a lot of good episodes on there. So I'd love to talk to you more about, how you might shine the light on that from a brand.
Okay, yeah, we can. Yep. We'll talk more later about that. I will. Yeah, I've kind of been thinking about it. How I just haven't settled on anything yet, but.
Well, you have great content nonetheless. So
potential ideas.
Maybe a little assist to have people to find you a little easier.
Yeah.
Because there's so much content out there, and I think you got lots of good content out there to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the clarity of SI and Blast, nothing like it.
So. Speak clearly.
Yes. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I want to be, it's like you want to be found out, but then you don't want the wrong people to find you.
Okay, right. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a good point. Well, I won't press you too hard then.
Okay, well.
We will all support you.
Yeah.
What's your decision?
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on. It's been so
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you guys. It
Bye.
was a pleasure. Goodbye.